Hello everybody. This is a quick tutorial on how to use Focus reporting and dashboards. Once you log into Focus, you can open up a web browser. I recommend using Chrome. Just type in focus.lausd.net and it's going to ask you for your single sign-on. Go ahead and enter that. Once you do that, you will be brought to this main screen. If you notice here in the bottom right corner, there are 4 tabs. We're going to be using the one that says create report. That's because we're creating a report from scratch. But if you already have a report created, then you will be using the catalog one. So since we're starting from scratch, go ahead and click on create report. And we're going to be selecting create an analysis. Okay, so go ahead and click on analysis. Now we need to select a subject area. So we're going to be looking just for student information. So we're going to click on, or actually type student detail, and go ahead and select that. And now there's a quick little summary of what it contains, what information is in there. So go ahead and let you read that on your own when you have more time. Once you select the student detail, you'll notice that you could see really quickly what subject area you're in. So if you see here something else other than student detail, go ahead and start all over, because then you may not have all the information that we're going to be entering. Okay, so make sure you have student detail up here where it says subject area. Okay, first things first is we want to make sure that we match our Excel sheet that we're going to create in Focus so that it clearly is similar to the one that are Excel templates, particularly the 9 through 11 lessons Excel template. Okay, so I'm going to open up my Excel template, and that has basically the student ID, the location code, the school name, the last name, first name, the tier. It's going to identify is that student a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 student. Right? And also we're going to look at what grade they're in and the eligibility. Now, you can also add another column here, not a fourth one, another column, which is class of. Especially now that we're using Schoology, we may want to be grouping your students by class of versus by grade level. Okay, so I will be adding that on my Focus report. So let's go back to our Focus. Here we have our selected columns. This is where we're going to add the headers for Excel sheet, and then our filters are going to go here. So we're going to use the magnifying glass because that is the fastest way to look for things. Otherwise, you're going to have to look for things under these folders, and then there's subfolders within them. So the first thing is we're going to type in district ID. Once you have district ID, you'll see that anything with district or ID will show up. We want the first choice, double click on it twice, and you notice that now appears on the right selected columns. Now, if you click on any of these other two, basically it's going to be where the information is masked or the information is obfuscated, which means that the information is, going to be letters may be mixed all over the place. You're not going to really understand who this or what this ID number is. So that's great for using if you're going to be sharing this report with other outside agencies and you don't want that student information easily read. So for our purposes, we do want that information read, so I'm going to select district ID. Now, if you get a little too trigger happy and you click on it more than 2 times, and you may click on it 4 times, you'll notice that it appears again. Now, we can remove this very easily. Just go to the gear icon or the settings wheel and just go to delete. Okay. Next one we're going to look for is the location code, but Focus doesn't call it location code. They call it school number. So we're going to type in school number. Double click on it again. Once you double click, it will appear on the right next to its district ID. Aside from the school number, we also want the school name. Okay, so the first one that pops up under when we type in school name, double click, and it will appear next to the school number. Next one that we want is the student's last name. So we're going to say last name first, double click. Then we're going to want first name. And you want to separate last name and first name so that you can sort them by alphabetical order based on their last name. Because if you do full name, then you can't sort it that way by last name. Okay. Next one was the tier column. Now in Focus, there's no such thing as a tier column that matches what we use it for. So I create a dummy one, or it's going to be a dummy column, but I also want, because it can be useful, date of birth. And the reason why I would choose this is because date of birth is going to come in handy, especially with district ID numbers no longer having their date of birth in the ID number. So that's a good one to have as well. And you can always replace it with something else. Okay. So the next one that we want is the grade. So just go ahead and click in the magnifying glass, type in grade, and it's going to be grade level. Okay. Next one that we want to add to our header is the eligibility, special education eligibility. So we're just going to type in special education eligibility, and it gives me 2 of them. And I want the actual description, so I want it to be spelled out for me. So I click on that. But if you know your codes, use the code. It's your preference. Now, the last one before I went into this, I was talking about class of. Especially because of Schoology, we're grouping our students by the class that they're supposed to graduate in. And so that's something I'm adding to my headers now for my Excel sheets. So I want that information in here as well. Okay, so here's the order that you should have: district ID, school number, school name, last name, first name, date of birth, grade level, class of, and the special education eligibility type. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I would recommend to do is click on the little floppy disk icon. We're going to save this analysis. Now, it doesn't matter when it's the first time you're saving. You can click on either one, but it will automatically prompt you to give it a name if there is no name. So notice here it says untitled. I'm going to click on this one, and it's going to by default save in my folders in Focus. So I'm going to clear out the name, and I'm going to call this dots my school 2020 21. I'll call it master data. Okay. You could give it any name you want. You don't have to put a description. You could just click OK. And now the name appears on the top left corner. Okay. So we need to know who our students, what students we're going to be targeting. So again, I'm going to use the magnifying glass to search. I want students that are currently enrolled. So I'm going to say enrolled flag. That's going to be a filter. I'm going to click on it twice. And when I click on it twice, notice that it appeared in my headers, which I don't want it to be one of my headers, but I can designate here that I want this to be a filter. So click on the gear icon or the settings gear icon, the little wheel, put a filter, give it a value, use a drop down, and select Y for yes. Notice that these are capital letters, so if you know your values offhand and you just want to enter it, make sure you use a capital letter to say yes, or Y for yes, N for no. Okay, so notice here it says enrolled flag is equal to Y. My next filter, I'm going to use this magnifying glass. Actually, the next filter is actually one of our headers because I want students that are enrolled at my school. So school number, I'm going to use this as a filter, create a filter. And I'm going to go ahead and type in my school number. So my school number is 8700. I want also another school list on this Excel sheet. So I'm going to separate it by a semicolon, no spaces. And I'm going to enter my other location code. Now you do have to have access to all the schools you enter on this field. Otherwise you'll get a error on the report. Okay. So that is also my other. Oh, one thing I forgot to do was to remove the enrolled flag as one of my headers. So Easily done. I can just click on the gear icon and say I want to delete that. Now, when I deleted it, it just deleted it from the selected columns, but it did not delete my filter because I already designated it as a filter. So the next filter we want to add is the students that are enrolled for this school year. So school year is not one of our headers, so we're going to have to type in school year. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And the school year now appears as one of my headers. I'm going to say this is going to be a filter. So scroll down to filter, give it a value, scroll down, and you're going to select 2020-2021. Click OK. Now, if you don't do this, it's going to find all the kids for all the years are in this database. So you're not going to narrow it down. So I'm going to remove the school year under my selected column, say delete. And the next, or actually the last filters we're going to select is we only want students that are eligible for special education services. So I'm going to just type that, eligible for special, and it's going to give me this option, which is eligible for special education services. Double click on it. It will appear right next to special education eligibility type description. Say that this is going to be a filter. So scroll down to filter. Scroll down or drop down, say yes. I only want students that are eligible. And once you do that, it appears as a filter and you can now remove that column. So now you have it. It's gone. Okay. So right now you can go ahead and click on save. Okay. Just a FYI before I continue, if you do notice that this report that you're about to see does have student information masked and or obfuscated. And the reason I did that is because this tutorial is made available publicly. So I don't want to share that student information. And so I went ahead and changed this report a little bit. But if you ever do want to see what a report looks like, you're just about to see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to click on results. And if it worked, you will see student information as well as the schools that you requested. Now, if you get an error, it's because either you don't have access to the school that you were looking for, or you narrow down, or maybe you mistyped it. So double check your filters. And the other thing is you want to make sure that you do have access to the school by going to the One Access portal and seeing if you've been granted access for focus. Okay, so this is what a report will look like. And the next thing that we want to do with this report to take it outside of focus so that we can manipulate it a lot easier within Microsoft Excel is to export it. And the way that we do that is we go ahead and we're going to click on this arrow going out of a box. We're going to select the drop down, click on Excel 2007, and then it tells you the export process is complete. All you got to do is click OK. On Google Chrome, it will appear on the bottom left corner. Go ahead and double click it. And there you have it. You have your Excel file, and you can enable the editing to go ahead and do the manipulating. I won't show you on how to manipulate the data in this tutorial, but you can see that on another video that I will make for that tutorial. Thank you very much.